My big purpose was to help office managers and dentists who were super overworked and stressed to just bring some peace of mind into their lives.
An outsourcing company can specialize in all sorts of things. Doctors are very confused about because they don't realize now there was a huge need, I think, for just people to help, and virtually was the only way.
We're just trying to find out, what is really that practice needs. It is best to get on the EFTs, in my opinion, because we can just pull them, make sure it's quick, it's easy to reconcile. We just have a communication platform where we have items outstanding and we mark them completed as they get completed. The expectations from us shouldn't be the same as they would be from someone who's in the office.
And we are back with another edition of Nobody Told Me That. I have a friend with me. Her name is Julia Nevo of Stellar Dental Solutions. What's up, Julia?
Hi, Teresa. So good seeing you. Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, I'm excited that you're on because you have a third-party billing company. And one of the questions that I get all the time is, what's all this all about? Should I outsource? But it's not just an ad for your company. That's not, so listeners, don't tune out. Here's the important piece. Why I'm glad she's coming on is she's going to talk to us about expectations when hiring a billing company, because let's be honest, not all of you need one. But if you do, the big issue I run into is nobody knows what to expect. They don't know what services they need. They also don't know what the process is. And as Julie and I will talk about, sometimes I hear of onboarding and expectations that are so far below what I would consider to be expected standards that I'm like, why did you even hire this person? So, if Julia is not your cup of tea, fine. But if she is, fine. But the most important thing is we're going to talk to you about, like, real talk here. Is this something that can fit your practice, and how to recognize if you're not getting your money's worth? And that's something that I always want to make sure that you all are taken care of with that respect. So, but first things first, now you weren't always a dental biller. Like, we all didn't wake up and go, ooh, dental billing, right? So what happened there? How did you start this journey of yours? And I have a funny feeling that on this listening may see themselves in the same footsteps as what you walked. So share it all.
Yeah, so hi everybody. My name is Julia. I'm the founder and owner of Stellar Dental Solutions. I founded Stellar in 2021. My journey started about the end of 2020, COVID times, crazy times, right?
The C word, I'll talk about it.
Yes. And really, my big purpose was to help office managers and dentists who were super overworked and stressed to just bring some peace of mind into their lives and, just reduce that stress, because it can be a lot. And this is exactly why I'm talking about it, because I was there. It was actually me back then, right? I was close to a burnout, health issues. There was a big life event that really shifted my priorities, that helped me to make that decision to start Stellar and just help more people like me calm down, relax, and actually enjoy their jobs, right?
Yeah.
So the big idea was to empower, everybody who works in a dental office, who is patient facing, or a dentist who possibly is doing some billing, which we see that, right? Sometimes.
Yeah.
Just, focus on the patient care. Everything else is just a distraction, and it really is not helping. So that is my purpose. That was my big goal.
One thing that I did hear during COVID even, was I have no idea what's going on with this. I know claims were sent. I know claims are supposed to get paid. And, this isn't the case of people leaving and the doctor's like, oh my gosh. And then I saw actually a record number of spouses coming into the practice because they were like, I need to fix this. And the dentist is already busy doing things. So there was a huge need, I think, for just people to help, and virtually was the only way. So I think you and a few others who, started then, were definitely taking advantage of a really good business opportunity. There were some that were already working. You were already aware of some that were in effect. I know my friend Mary Beth Pajornis had one that she had for years. Devon Banks had hers going on for a while. So, and Rick Garofalo, it's not like this is a new thing, I think, but it was not as sought out as it is now. So
saturated, yeah.
well, it is saturated. That's a whole different conversation, right? So when you got this idea, was it because you had seen it done with other companies, or did you think, okay, well, I can do this, and you had kind of people lined up that needed your help?
So I didn't have people that I had lined up, but I just had some, serious things going on in my life. And I knew I had to change something. Like,
Mhm.
I can't be everything to everyone, be this, wonderful person in a patient facing environment and do everything, for everyone. And it was just too much. I honestly, first, I just decided to apply to some billing companies and see,
Okay.
where I get with that. And I had some success and some unsuccess. And then I just decided, hey, like, what's stopping me from doing my own thing, right? It was really a decision of a few months. It was fast. I was like, hey, I'm starting. So I created a business plan. I knew what I needed. I kind of connected with some people who also helped me. So that's how it started.
Good. Excellent. Excellent. And so, one question, I love to ask this question because everybody is different. How did you land your first client? And so that one sometimes is like the aha, I can do it. And then how did you start to get more clients? Because that's when your brain has to kick into, okay, I know who I know, but now I got to get people I don't know. And some of that is because of advertising, and some of it is just somebody really going crazy with the referral business. Now, how did that work for you? How's your customer acquisition model back then versus now?
Yeah, my first client actually I landed within like a month of starting my company. And it was just through another billing company. That was just how I did it because it's hard, when you don't really know anyone and you're just trying to put yourself out there. You don't really have anyone you can advertise to. You don't know who you're advertising to. So that's how I landed my first client. My second client, I landed through one of the Facebook groups.
Okay.
They reached out to me, and that's just how it started. We started talking, and they kind of just gave me a chance, So,
Nice. Nice. It's
yeah.
always, yeah, I remember the first doctor that gave me a chance too. I was unproven, and there I will always think fondly of him that he took a chance on me. So I'm sure you have the same, like,
Yeah, I mean, they're still my cheerleaders up to this day. I
awesome.
love them. Yes.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's get into the meat. Well, first of all, I want everyone to know that you have a Facebook group, and I love it because you put resources out there, and you also have resources on your Facebook page, billing resources. So people go to the show notes and check those out too. So we'll link it. But what's the name of your Facebook group so people can go and join it? And it is private, so you got to like not be a crazy person. Put in there that you heard the podcast. Be a good person.
Yes, you cannot sell your equipment on my Facebook page, unfortunately.
Mhm.
But, anyways, my Facebook page is called Dental Practice Management Resources. So, yes, if you request, I will approve you. You just have to put the name of the practice or the name of the company you work for. And I think that's pretty much it. Maybe an email or something like that, but we won't solicit you.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Now, you offer a couple different services, and not all billing companies offer these services. And that's one thing I think doctors are very confused about because they don't realize now that an outsourcing company can specialize in all sorts of things. So I'm just going to throw out a couple, and then you tell me what you specialize in. You can do eligibility and benefits. Oh, and please tell me if I miss one. Eligibility and benefits, a customized breakdown. You can do claims cleanup. You can do claim submission. You can do all the way to the end of the revenue cycle, which includes payments, processing payments, and even sending out statements. You could do treatment plan reactivation, hygiene reactivation. There's just a lot that you can do. So, what on earth do you offer? And are there any of these things that I mentioned that you were like, okay, this is not working? So, because here's the thing is that as a billing company, if you're starting out, you're new and you're listening to this, you're thinking, oh, yeah, I can offer all of that. But some are so time consuming that you're going to be like, why? So, talk to me a little bit about what you offer and what you just took off the table.
Yeah, so we do offer a full revenue cycle management, from submission of the claim to payment posting and then follow up all of the appeals, insurance requests. And we'll do the insurance verification and also patient billing. But we don't really do any like reactivation, hygiene, or anything like that, or treatment plans because that's all automated, really. It's,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's if you have some sort of software where you can send out those automated texts, people can schedule it super convenient. I don't necessarily believe that calling people will give you great results in this time and age.
Yeah. It's a matter of, do you have the bandwidth to do it? I think if you're a specialist office or if you have a campaign, maybe so. But I mean, there's a reason why the companies that do treatment reminders and appointment reminders make so much money, because that was the most painful part of, I know my time at the front desk was just calling and calling. And I think you're right. People don't even answer. It's so hard. People don't even answer the phone anymore. So,
No,
yeah.
no, I will tell you, we do, patient billing and we call on those overdue accounts. And I'd say about maybe one third of the calls get answered. I mean, it's not bad, but it's slow. It goes into the voicemail right away because everyone has those,
Yeah.
spam things set up. So
Right, right.
text, email is more, I feel like is more convenient this day for everyone.
So, the eligibility and benefits when you are talking to a doctor, so say you offer these services to him or her, are there a lot of times that the doctor doesn't even know what services they need? They just know they need help. I mean, what is the usual reason for the call when you get a call?
Yes. So the usual reason for the call is somebody quit.
Yeah, that's true.
Or somebody referred us and they're looking to maybe shift some responsibilities from the patient facing team members to outsourcing. But yes, oftentimes, offices don't even realize what they need
Mm-hmm.
and what is happening in that area at their front desk. So it's really just finding out, okay, let's see what your systems are currently. Are they working? And let's see how we can be a good fit for your practice and if we are a good fit.
Okay, so they would fill out like a contact form or they would schedule a call with you, like an intro call. I want to walk through the process. So, doctors, if you feel like this is just too hard or I don't have time to do this, like these companies really have made it super easy to onboard, or they should have by now, because they also don't have the time to dig and kind of just root around in there. There's certain things they want to get to before they get to that point. So, you have a complimentary call with them or some sort of like get to know you call, and is it just finding out like software? Is it finding out what they need? Or is it actually going into their system? At what point do you, because let me back up. There's got to be offices where you actually go in and take a look and you go, this is beyond the scope of what I do. So, how do you handle those situations?
Yes. So usually all of those things are discussed during our first introductory call. We ask specific questions to make sure that, we're a good fit and this will actually work. So things like, is there anyone if you're just looking to outsource your dental billing, but is there anyone in your office who's currently verifying benefits and inputting that information into the software if the patient walks in with new insurance? If not, right, then the claim can't go out.
Yeah.
It's like those things like that, we discuss in advance. Is there anyone who's sending out statements? If not, if we post insurance payments, if there's a balance, it's just going to keep piling up. So
Mm-hmm.
we're just trying to find out, what is really that practice needs, and with the current resources that they have and the team members that they have and their responsibilities, how can we be of an assistance to them as well, like extra help.
What about ERAs, EFTs? Are most offices set up for that? Is that something you would prefer offices be set up for? Like, what's best for, I guess, a third party biller? Like, what's best?
Yeah, I would say it's about 50-50 of offices. Many are still on checks or, some are accepting those virtual cards and running them. It is best to get on the EFTs, in my opinion, because we can just pull them, make sure it's quick, it's easy to reconcile. The office can send us a deposit for the day, right? And let us know what has been deposited. So we prefer EFTs, but not every office is set for the EFTs. And that's okay. We are willing to work with those that are still preferring the checks. And we're willing to help those that are, wanting to possibly switch and just get their money faster from the insurance companies.
So if it's a check office, they photocopy it and send it to
There's a whole system. They have to scan the checks and the EOBs, attach the checks with a cover page with like letting us know how much money they scanned in. There's a lot of sort of back and forth. So once they get that to us, we can post those payments then and then send them a report to let them know that everything that they send us matched up what we posted in their patient management software.
I'm going to assume, and I know because I know you, this is taken care of. It's all HIPAA compliant. You have making sure from beginning to end. And that's something, listeners, you should know about doctors if you're, or managers if you're looking to move things over. The problem with this industry is that there's a low barrier to entry, but it's also the greatest thing about this because you can start a business. The problem is there are billing companies out there, we talk about this on Dental Revenue Network, that are not completely HIPAA compliant. Either they're unaware or they haven't invested in the software. They might be using a shared computer, like a family computer perhaps, or maybe a computer that they work on their other offices with, or like maybe they're employed at an office but doing this from home. You really need a protected system. And I know that's something that you reassure your clients about. So if you're looking at hiring a company, that is something to ask about. What should they ask in that regards to make sure that it is the case?
Yes, actually, that's great because I just spoke to one client who's starting soon and they asked so many great questions. And I was just telling that person, I'm like, I'm so proud of you.
Oh,
This
that's
is so
good.
great. I'm like, I wish everyone would be like that and would be so interested in their business and making sure that, who they hire, following all of those standards because it's so important right now, right? There's many terrible things that happened recently and they still happen with cybersecurity. So yes, there's definitely things to ask. And number one, I'd say, really ensuring that the company does have proper insurance, right? Cyber liability insurance and errors emissions insurance, they're covered, in case something happens.
Yeah.
And then, of course, just finding out what softwares they're using. Are they business grade HIPAA compliant softwares or they're just personal use, right? So all those things, how are their systems for the people that work for them, right? Do they ensure those people are properly actually trained and they follow the same things?
Yes.
Or is it, like you said, someone working on a family computer,
Yeah, that's very, very important. I remember, and I didn't do anything like what you guys did. I did cleanup years ago, but it was always on site. But I remember a client asking for the cover letter of my errors and emission insurance and all of my consulting. Yeah, and all of my consulting though, there's only been 2 clients that have ever asked for that. And it's kind of a shame because doctors, like, they were just trusting that I had insurance and I could have gone and completely messed up their systems. And it's almost like not calling for references on employees. So, it's just, I mean, I'm glad I'm trustworthy, I guess. But in the end, that is something that if you're a billing company and they ask for that, that's not out of bounds. That's actually fine. Then I guess they want to make sure that you've done your fraud, waste, and abuse training if it's necessary, whatever is required. The cyber insurance piece is huge. And what really scares me is on that remote sourcing Facebook group that our friend Estella, she's one of the administrators on there, and a lot of remote billers are on there. And what I see sometimes is, do I really need cyber insurance? Or, oh, I priced it and it's very high. And these are people that are actively working on accounts and don't have it. And that's really scary.
It is scary. And I think, it is more important than ever right now. And not just even having the cyber policy attached to your regular policy. I truly believe there should be a separate cyber policy because, if you read those policies, the ones that are just attached to the regular one,
Mhm.
they're not as comprehensive.
No, and you have to
They're
do
not.
a whole bunch of stuff in order to qualify. And if you
Yes,
miss one of those steps, like, they don't have to pay, and that's really terrible because,
I know.
do
It could
you
ruin
have
someone's life.
it's like a whole log of backups. Can you provide that? And when you're a small business like myself, like you, do we have a huge IT team that's going to be able to handle that kind of call? So yeah, know what you're getting into, billing company owners, not a deterrent, but you definitely need to know. So is there another question that this person asked that was
Yeah,
surprising?
they actually were asking many questions. Well, one thing that was actually surprising and, that they want their computers off by a certain time of the day when they're leaving the office.
Oh,
So
okay.
that was very interesting to me. That was the first one. And I totally get that. I understand their concerns.
Yeah.
So it's something, as a smaller company, we may still be able to compromise on, but
Yeah.
some bigger companies may not be able to make sure that everything has been done by 5 o'clock, right?
Interesting. Okay. So, what is the expected turnaround time on a couple different things I'll ask? And keeping in mind that I want to say it's specific to what you know, and I'll give input too, but there are certain situations where the timelines we may discuss may not apply for whatever reasons. Just make sure that your billing company can tell you what an expected timeline is and to stick by it. But I think it's pretty standard. Like, what's the timeline? Like, if I say to you, I'd like you to do eligibility and benefits on a patient How many days prior to the appointment is pretty standard?
Well, what we do is we want to make sure that, we provide quality and we don't compromise on that. So we have those standards set and this is what we just go by. So for us, it is 72 business hours.
Okay.
We can verify a week in advance, but if the schedule changes, we're only checking up to 72 hours in advance.
Okay. Okay. And then what about a custom setup? So do you do that with them, a custom setup, or is it just the portal eligibilities that they get? Like if they have a specific list of things they want you to check, is that different than the generic stuff that we can pull?
Oh, yeah, definitely different. And we don't have many practices who want the breakdown anymore because we just see that it's been a waste of time and resources lately. It kind of ends with when it gets uploaded by us into the DocuCenter and then nobody checks.
Yeah.
So, if you're paying $15 per breakdown and
Yeah.
now nobody looks at it and still, does all of the services that are not covered and not charging the patient their copay, like what's the point, right?
Mhm.
So I actually just did a video on that
Okay. Okay.
a few
So
days ago and I talked about it. And it's not a popular opinion because everybody wants the breakdown, right? They want the same standardized version. But then do we look at it? Do
yeah.
we really check everything on there? Like if we're not, then it's a waste of money.
So, doctors, this is really important because if you have an office in which you are really good at giving co-insurance estimates and your office is truly a treatment planning office, then this is worth it. But if your office is run very fast, and also, let's be honest with yourself. Does your team look at that and is it reflected in the co-insurance discussions that you have with your patients? Because I do know offices that think they get everything and then the co-insurance, like they either don't collect it or it's just so wildly off. So, be honest about what you need. What happens with claims processing? Like I go in, I do a root canal today. How does that go with you?
Yes. So basically, we submit claims the next business day.
Okay.
And we found that has been the best system because it gives time for the office to fix any errors.
Okay.
If there's any issues, something was walked out wrong, they can still fix it. And the next morning, it should be ready for us. It's been the best so far.
It should be ready for you, but what happens
Yes.
if it's not? And this is doctors, I know you know where I'm coming from if you listen to me. Where's the documentation? So how do you have to gently put an email out that's like, hey, or, how does that communication go?
Yeah, communication is a big part. And we really run like a communication sheet, where we have items in question. And, if something's not there, we just keep piling it up on the office. I feel bad. And sometimes I still do a lot of the work too, helping my team. And sometimes I really just want to cry
Aw.
because it's not there. And I'm like, why? You would think that it should be there. But, anyways, so yeah.
That's one person that I'm thinking the manager is like, oh gosh, I know, because that used to be us crying. Like we would hound the doctors all day, every day for the documentation. But I think when you can see that, hey, this isn't going out, which means you're not going to get paid, like there's a real impact there. And especially if you're an associate, come on, you can't get paid if I can't claim it for you. I can't pick it
Yes.
up.
And
So,
we have a system where we we put how much is on hold. So like, let's say it's an implant case. The
mhm,
claim is on hold. It's missing something.
wow.
It's $5,000. Once they see that amount, and a
Yeah.
lot of offices, they'll have bonus systems and things like that too, right? You want to get that insurance money so
Mhm.
you can also get that bonus this month. So it just makes sense for everybody. But I wouldn't say that's the biggest issue. I'd say the biggest issue is really the documentation being accurate
Okay.
or documentation having the things that need to be in there.
Yeah.
you
And that's
know,
a whole different issue because it's not really your scope of services, but yet it's so important that it has to be addressed before you can continue. So do you find yourself providing that service
So we actually
unintentionally?
we what we started doing is about I'd say probably about a year ago we started really just having a very strict onboarding process where we go over those things
Okay.
and we just let offices know, hey, this is what the documentation is necessary for all of these procedures. And I do have a cheat sheet. If you join my Facebook group or if you go on my website,
Yeah.
there is a cheat sheet that has what is needed for every procedure, and it's just like a worst case scenario,
Mhm.
right? We just want to create a worst case scenario. We have it all
Yeah.
Insurance can't request anything else.
I
We'll
know,
get
right?
paid from the first submission, hopefully, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just a part of our onboarding process. And you'll be surprised, but we still have issues. Once we start, we still have questions why, or some resistance sometimes, because I get it. It feels like it's unnecessary, but insurances just have created, these fees,
Obstacles.
obstacles.
Obstacles. Yeah. Yeah.
Insurance companies just have created these obstacles for us to keep their money longer, right? Not to pay out. So we just have to play by their rules. So if we can get all of that information to them in advance, there shouldn't be no issues to get paid.
I just thought of a question. I didn't even think to ask this. Are the majority of your offices in network, heavily in network, or out of network, or a mix? Do out of network offices call you? Do they seem to need you more or not?
Yeah, we have out of network offices. I'd say it's a great mix. Some are just in network with one insurance, some are in network with multiple PPOs. It's a good mix, but we love out of network offices.
Yeah, I'm
That's our
sorry.
favorite client.
It's so wild. I tell people all the time when you are in network, you work harder for it.
You do.
Oh my gosh, the amount of documentation and request for information, there is no doubt in my mind it is way heavier for an in-network office. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, see, you and I know this, but I think a lot of people, they don't realize it when they go out of network. They're like, wow, because you're not in their rule set, like you're not beholden to a contract. And so it just is unfortunate, though, that the administrative burden really lessens when you go out of network, and more offices I think would stay in network if their administrative burden weren't so high. So it's a real push pull with the carriers and the provider. Well, right now it's so contentious. It's just really awful. So with the claim is out, now it's outstanding. So when do you check a claim, and how long do you work a claim until you go, I can't anymore?
So, we check on claims that are over 30 days. We run those reports periodically and we check on them. We follow up, find out what's happening, why they're not paid. But, ideally, they really should be paid under 30 days, especially if you have EFTs, it's a few days. With
Yeah.
some, payers, you can get paid in 2 days. It's amazing. We love that. And we actually just implemented some AI software that we started working with where we can actually find out if the claim is not on file within 5 days of submission. So we
Oh,
can
okay.
avoid the 30-day wait, right?
Nice. Nice.
So that has been really good.
Okay. And how many appeals do you work before?
So we will work until it's exhausted. Some carriers only will allow one appeal, and some even don't allow the peer-to-peer anymore, or some doctors don't just want to do that anymore. So it's really an office's preference.
It's really unfortunate that the peer-to-peer, I'm starting to see that, you're right, going away in some of the provider manuals. And I think that's a real missed opportunity for doctors to really understand each other. But I understand why it's going away. They don't have enough dental consultants to do these peer-to-peers. And I tell doctors in classes that, if you want a side gig, they need doctors desperately. And then you'll hear some of them will be like, oh, like sign of the cross and that kind of thing. And then the others will come up afterwards and say, really, which companies? So there is interest there, but there is like classes and certifications and things like that. So when it comes to the amount of communication that you have with a client, this is the piece I really want your opinion on, because there will be times that I will hear, well, I only hear from my billing company when there's a problem, or I only get a roundup once a week or once a month. I only get like an email that tells what we did. And every now and then there'll be an email that's, hey, I need this, or I have a problem here. And from what I understand, the better way of doing it, to me, the more ideal way of doing it, is having much more constant communication so that and I would think as a billing company, you would want good communication so that people know that you're actually that you're providing a very valuable service, and that if you're staying front of mind, it's much harder for a doctor to kind of carve that out of their monthly expenses. I remember one doctor came up to me and he was like, yeah, I have a company that files the claims, but I have to take care of all the appeals. And I thought, what? Like, why? So that didn't make any sense at all. So tell me, what is your cadence for communication? Was it more or less? Like, how did you decide on this frequency?
So we have multiple communication channels. Clearly, email is an option, but we don't really prefer that because emails get lost, and there's just sort of like, how do you make sure you keep following up on that item? How do you make sure it has been completed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we just have a communication platform where we have items outstanding and we mark them completed as they get completed. And once they do, we just take them off.
Okay.
And that's one of the communication channels that we have. And that can be anything from, daily issues, from things missing or office meeting, anything from us. But then we also have reporting to offices. So we do send reports with every posting that we do that will include, how much has been posted. Are there any patient balances? Are there any credits that have been generated, right? Nobody likes to return the credits, but that's one of the
Yeah, I know.
one of the parts of business, right? So yeah, we send the credits as well on the report, so you can just return the money right away instead of waiting until, the year came to an end. And then if there's anything like, did we close any claims that are just not appealable? It's a frequency issue or something like a waiting period. And patient balances, I said that. And then the aging, we provide them with the aging numbers. I'm just letting them know where they stand. And then at the end of the month, we'll also do the whole numbers with how much they have produced, how much they have collected, how much they have adjusted, and all of that good stuff.
Okay. From what I hear from the companies I know do a good job, that seems to be pretty standard. I think that's a good cadence. I don't want to get an email every time you close a claim. So that sounds good to me.
Yeah.
That's a little ridiculous. But I also don't want to wait until the end of the month to hear the progress that you've made. So to me, that was really just wild, really just trusting somebody with your whole network and all of your funds. And this person, this company, she actually had worked there and then went on and started her own company. And I don't know her, but from what I understand, like she just basically picked what she wanted to do and then left it for the staff to finish off the rest. And I thought, well, that's awful. And I just hear all these crazy stories about the way that things are done. And doctors, if you're paying pretty decent money to replace an employee or to supplement their job, you have the right to know what is being done, right? So let's talk about that though, because I said something that I shouldn't have said, but sometimes it is the truth. It is replacing an employee. But I think it's helping an employee do something totally different that's better for the in-office. Like I was a great treatment closer. If I'd had you or any of the other third-party billers, I would have offloaded that. Even though I love insurance, I would have offloaded that so I could just close cases all day. What do you find that the team members are involved with hiring you, or are they kind of surprised? I mean, you probably run into, I don't want to work with her. I don't need her help. I can do it. How does that work?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Just rip the Band-Aid off and say.
Yes. So honestly, I feel like there can be a lot of feelings, right? Negative or positive. And, it's really about the mindset, right? So if the doctor is hiring us and someone feels threatened about their position, it's has nothing to do with us, right? It's really what's in that person's head. So I'm really here to just help anyone to get rid of that mindset.
Yeah.
I always position myself, hey, we're here to help. Like anything you need from us, like we're here for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like we just go above and beyond, whatever it is. And one thing that we see is, yes, sometimes, people do feel weird, right? It's like outsourcing. What is it? Mm-hmm. Or maybe they even feel like we're an employee now. And we are equal, right? But it's not the same. The expectations from us shouldn't be the same as they would be from someone who's in the office.
Mm-hmm.
It's timelines. There's many things that you just wouldn't expect from a billing company. So yeah, there's just a lot of communication needs and kind of getting those things straightened out and setting the expectations really, what it's going to be like. So that's like one of our onboarding processes too. We just go over, hey, this is what we will help you with. This is what you guys will still have to handle, and you'll have to make sure that you still do it so we can actually help you and we can work like a team.
This onboarding conversation, I know it's super important to have it with the doctor because they're the client. Is the manager usually involved in this, or is that a separate call that you need to have with that person?
Once the doctor has decided to hire us, we do have a meeting that, with a team, with everybody who's going to be involved in communication or a part of the revenue cycle, maybe even like batching claims and completing procedures for the day, to go over all of those expectations. So yes, we would not be able to onboard without speaking to the team.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So the other question that I have is, Are there any limitations to working with a third party company? Like, I'm thinking, for example, I know that there are some companies that won't hire a biller if they don't have reliable internet. Are there actual like tangible issues? Like, are there softwares that you can't work with? Are there softwares that are easier to work with? Do they have to have high speed internet? Do you provide the remoting in software? Do they provide the remoting in software? How does that work?
Yeah, so there are definitely multiple different softwares we work with. There are the ones we prefer, and yeah, it really depends on a team member what they prefer. Some people hate Dentrix, some people love Dentrix, right? Some people love Curve. I love Curve. Some people hate Curve.
Yeah, it's all over the
It's
map.
really about a
Yeah,
preference, right? But
yeah.
yes, if it is a server based software, then we provide the remote in service
Okay.
that we remote into their computer. If it is a cloud based software, then no, we don't need that. It's just cloud based.
Do you need the computer to be separate? Like you would prefer a computer not being used by anybody?
Absolutely. It has to be a designated computer, especially if the office is large. It can be multiple computers. It really depends. And, if they're on a server, then yes, it's going to be at least one computer if they're a smaller office.
You said that there's software preferences. So it's not necessarily you working on all of the accounts. Like you have people that you work with or work for you that may specialize in a software. So if you're talking to someone and say you don't have anybody on for Acme Insurance, do you find an Acme Insurance person or do you just say at this time I can't take your account? How do you handle that?
That's a good question. Actually, it hasn't happened yet, but
Okay, that's good. Knock on wood, right?
yes, knock on wood. It hasn't happened yet, but yeah, I tried to find someone. Perhaps we are a smaller company and we're growing at a snail pace, but right now it's six of us. It's not a secret. But yeah, I'd be open to hiring new people. We do go through a very rigid process of hiring and just, finding the right fit.
Yeah.
And we really only hire experts right now at this time. We can't afford otherwise. And I'll tell you the secret, but last time I put my application out, I probably received about 48 applications and only 4 people out of 48 actually answered all of the questions with no mistakes.
It's
So
wild.
it is wild. So you can imagine, right?
Yeah. And I remember our friend Michelle Rapash was on a previous podcast and she has a test. Most of you have a quiz, a test. That's what you're talking about. And she makes her super, super hard because anyone kind of Google the answers nowadays, right? And
Yes.
I remember there was a very large billing company that when they first like put out their tests and everything, I know people that were like doing group texts to each other to answer the questions. And I was like, do you not know the answer? Like, this is terrifying that you don't know the answer, you know?
Right. What do you think is going to happen when you start working? You're just going to miraculously find out the answer. Like, what are you going to do? Right. It's a lot of responsibility.
It's nuts, though, how people justify it. Like, I want to get out of the office, so I have to go work for a company. It's like, well, then learn a little bit more, take some
True.
extra classes, that kind of thing. We're always learning. I mean, I'm still taking classes, you're still taking classes. Like, it just has not stayed still. What has changed, I would say, not the most for you, but what's been like the most, I would say, labor intensive change that you've seen? Like, what has caused you to change your workflow or offerings the most in insurance in the last couple of years?
The insurance verification,
Yeah.
the
How
full
so?
breakdown. Yes. We don't promote that anymore because it is super labor intensive. When you think about it, if you have one page of questions that you need to answer,
Yeah.
and a lot of times you need to call to get those extra questions answered. Are you going to need those questions answered before the patient walks through the door? I don't believe that.
Yeah, I hear the back and forth. I do. And this is really hotly contested in classes. A lot of people, I remember it was a couple months ago, but somebody was like, we don't even verify. We just do, are they eligible or not? That's it. We don't check on benefits. We don't check on amount used. And I think people honestly were like gasping at what she said. And I feel like we're a little crazy with eligibility and benefits. I do. And I see it more as a, we got to cover ourselves type of thing. But I am of the older generation where we never checked. We never checked eligibility and benefits. If something was wrong, we handled it. But for the most part, we just never checked and we were okay. But I don't advocate going all the way in that direction, but there is a happy medium in there. But this girl, she's like, my life is so easy. She's like, we just make sure that they're eligible. That's it. She's like, I will find out what I need to do when we do a treatment plan. And in her office, I remember her saying they always come back for a consultation. So she had time to get what she needed, but she didn't feel like she needed it for every appointment, kind of what you were saying. And so, so many different ways that these dentists do business. There's no standard way anywhere on how we do this business. So, do you find yourself writing a lot more appeals nowadays? Or, well, let me ask this because I'm always curious, like, what's your problem code?
Right. I won't name insurance companies on this
Yeah,
video.
let's not do that. Let's just do problem
um,
codes.
Problem codes. Okay, so problem codes, I'd say mostly are SRPs and buildups,
Okay.
and those we see the most. So it's usually because no radiographical bone loss, and that's a tough one, right? You need to blow up those pictures and send them in. And sometimes I speak to doctors when I'm like onto the peer-to-peer. I'm like, I'm scheduling a peer-to-peer with you. I'm like, can you please take a look? And they're like, oh yeah, there isn't really much bone loss on there. I'm like,
Wow.
in the world.
Wow. Yeah.
So I believe there's bone loss, right? But there isn't much radiographical bone loss. So that's one of the, requirements now to get those claims paid.
Yeah.
And then the buildup, they're trying to say it's part of trying to confuse people, believe it's part of the main procedure, or that there isn't enough tooth structure compromise to justify a buildup. So I'd say those two are the most common ones.
Okay. I think that's pretty standard. I mean, those are the ones that I have to cover the most in classes. I think the distant third would be, and I mean, distant third would be surgical extractions, because I think doctors, they assume that degree of difficulty is a surgical, if it's really difficult. But if there's no touching of the bone or anything like that, yeah, you broke a sweat, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a surgical. And a lot of times I know a couple offices that I still review stuff for. They will bill it as a surgical, and then there's nothing in the notes that indicates that it was surgical.
Yes,
And
that's
it's
a
like,
big problem.
man, just like if you did it, please put it in there. And I'll text the doctor later, and he'll be like, "Oh yeah, oh sorry, yeah, I'll go back and check that." It's like, oh gosh. So simple things like that. Now, do you find that you're getting more requests now than in the last 2 years for information that was already sent? Because I'm starting to hear that more from people, that we send it, but it's like they don't even see it. Is that something you struggle with as well?
We see some of that for sure, yes. And we go back and just check, and we did send it initially, so yeah, we do see that.
Okay.
I'd say definitely more than in the past 2 years. So I'm not sure if that's a technology issue where it's just not getting somehow to the insurance,
Yeah.
or, what it is. But yeah.
Something's going on because, when I hear it from multiple sources, there's got to be something to it. So I do feel like, and I still do claims even for my old boss, but we don't have the volume. He's very laid back, does his thing. Like I'll send it and it'll still be not there. And it's like, really? Like what happened here? I know I sent it. So it's definitely, I think, a trend. How do you handle all these lease networks? How does that impact your job? Because do you find yourself being more careful with lease network claims? Like if an office is heavily networked like that, or does it really make a difference?
We love lease networks, and I know it may be I know it may be not a popular opinion, and I haven't been popular lately, I guess, too. But
Stop.
um, it's more money for the doctor and more money for us. Let's put it that way.
Hmm.
There's a larger reimbursement. I guess there may some confusion come when you're trying to verify benefits and knowing which insurance is part of which network, right? Which plan is going to fall under. But we really haven't seen things like I've heard on the internet where the same plan pays on two different lease networks depending on which schedule is lower. Like I haven't seen that. So I
Okay.
don't know where that's coming from. I know you've talked about it a little bit.
Yeah, but it's weird because, I'm always asking for proof. So
Yeah.
people will tell me these things and I'll say, please send me, and I say this to everybody that has any issues with anything, please send me the blocked out, PHI information, personal health information. I'd love to see it and I can try to investigate it, but I rarely get that. And I don't know if it's because when they went back and looked at it, they realized it wasn't a huge issue. They missed something or they just forget. Usually when it's something that is legitimately needs to be fixed, somebody can quickly send me what I asked for. So
Right. Like I sent you that explanation of benefits, right? That
yes,
downgraded the crown
yep.
and didn't say nothing about the downgrade.
Yes, exactly. I mean, we see wacky EOBs all of the time. And that's a problem with our industry too. There are no standards for rejections the codes, every company has their own set. And then if we ever, when we get to medical billing, like the amount of rejection codes and processing codes are huge. I mean, like it is like a dictionary of lists. So I don't understand why we can't as an industry. I mean, I guess I kind of do, but every system is different. But why can't we have these standard rejection codes so that we don't have to say, well, on this one, it means non-covered. On this one, it means, I don't know. It just would be so much easier, right?
It would. And I'm all about standards. Like, that's how I run my company. Everything has a standard, everything has a checklist. This is how we do things.
Yeah.
And I kind of expect that from other people too.
Right.
And companies.
Well, and that's not even when talking about the fee schedules, we didn't even talk about this. Another outsourcing service that some offer, and some, this is their whole company, is negotiations.
Mm-hmm.
And then the credentialing is something separate too that can be bundled in. So I know people that do just credentialing and what you do, the third party services, and then some that just do negotiations and that's it. So do you dip your toe in that water? Do
A
you
little bit.
figure
We
out?
help
Okay.
here and there.
Okay.
Yeah.
As
We
you,
help some good people, yes.
yeah. But if it's like a huge project, you're like, whoa.
No, I cannot be everything to everyone.
Yeah.
I learned that back in 2020, 2021.
Yep, that's how you started down this path,
Yes.
right? Yeah, because negotiations has turned into its own industry. I mean, I would never have thought that you could carve out insurance as I was doing it 30 years ago into so many separate business models, 30 years later. I would never have seen that. I wish I did because I would have gotten on top of it earlier, but oh well. Oh well. But definitely there are a lot of considerations if you are looking to outsource. But if you do feel like you're kind of strapped, definitely look into some services. But I think, Julia, you and I would agree on this. If you start to see some wear and tear on your admin people, they're not going to tell you. That's just our nature. They're not going to tell you that they're at a breaking point because we just are so used to handling everything. Were you the manager? Were you the insurance coordinator at your old job?
So no, I was the business manager. Yeah, but I was everything to everyone, like most of us were or are. So definitely been in those shoes. And yeah, you cannot be in a patient facing environment and deal with all of this. It's just too much. You're spreading yourself too thin. Your mental health is not okay.
Yeah.
You can't scream at insurance company and then welcome a new patient, give
Right.
them a tour, hang their coat, smile at them. No, you're going to be that angry receptionist, right? It's just what it is.
That's funny. I do know a couple managers who have retired since COVID. And I remember one said, if my doctor would just take insurance off my plate, I would probably stay, but he refuses to outsource. And so as a result, she left. And I thought, wow. And she left dentistry. She just said, I cannot do this anymore. And there were other reasons too. Like she really firmly believed that COVID turned people into animals, like just mean people. And she would say that she was just like, people are animals. Patients are animals nowadays. But I hear that too in the audiences that people seem to be different nowadays, much more insurance driven. And as a result, that's the part of our business that we can't just hope it goes well. Like we have to really take care of that whole revenue cycle process. So when you talk to a new doctor, what is the time from conversation with you in an ideal situation? You have somebody that's ready to take on the account, you take on the account, whatever. What's the time period? Like how fast you onboard them? Is there, just so somebody knows what to expect.
Yeah, so we usually try to onboard people on the 1st or the 15th just to make it easier. We've done within 2 weeks, we've onboarded an office within 2 weeks. We can just bomb everything out. As long as they can get the contract signed, fast, we can then start the process of giving them all the platforms that we use, making sure, everything is set up, making them get everything to us, such as their, information. And there's a whole questionnaire they have to fill out. And then scheduling that meeting to make sure we can onboard and talk about what's next, what's expected from them, what they can expect from us, what not to expect from us, all of those good things.
No, and that's important too. And the doctors, you guys, when you're talking to Julia or another third party company, you need to let them know when is it okay to talk to you and what is your expected conversation, expected communication method and all of that. So, it shouldn't be just one side setting all of the rules, right? So I think it's good best practice to onboard and see if it's a fit. Have you ever talked to a doctor and realized it wasn't going to be a fit and just didn't go through with it?
I don't think so. I mean, I've had doctors who never, signed up with us
Mm-hmm.
and then they came back later and signed up with us. And I've had some that didn't sign up with us yet.
Yeah,
And
sure.
hopefully they'll sign up with us
Yeah, and
at
that's
some
normal.
point, right?
Yeah, that's normal.
Yeah. And we've had actually ones that didn't sign up with us, signed up with someone else, and then a few months later came back to us. That's another category.
No, that's good that you stuck in their minds. We have some colleagues that we talk to in Dental Revenue Network that will absolutely not take on certain clients if like their feelers go off or they have red flags from conversations. And I think we all know that there are doctors that kind of make the circles asking, different companies and interviewing different companies. And I don't know if you've gone through that, but I definitely have heard that, oh, this doctor, oh, you talked to them. Oh yeah. And it's really funny. I mean, it's such a small world. It really is.
It is a small world, but hey, we're all in the same pot, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
if I have a red flag, like if something feels off, I'll just clarify.
Good.
Like what can really go wrong, right? Just ask instead of start thinking about it and talking to other people. Now we're onto this gossip thing. So
Yeah, I know. And you and I have had enough of gossip, right? So, all
I
right.
just wish for less gossip in my life.
Oh, that would be so nice. My goodness, this industry would be so amazing without the gossip.
Are you a dental biller feeling overwhelmed and isolated? I get it. The world of revenue cycle management is complex and ever-changing. That's why I created Dental Revenue Network. Our membership community was created to help you become a better revenue cycle manager and small business operator. Say goodbye to feeling alone and hello to a supportive community of dental billing professionals. Here's what you'll get: monthly billing focused meetings with peers and experts, business building sessions to elevate your career, resource libraries tailored for billers and billing company owners, introductions to cutting-edge RCM technologies and companies, and a vibrant community for networking and support. Ready to transform your dental billing experience? Visit dentalrevenuenetwork.com today. Don't wait. Join us now and navigate the business of RCM with confidence.
Sure.
Okay, so thank you so much, because you have it's almost like you just pulled back the curtain on this. And I know that not only did you help some doctors with this, because this is a big thing. They asked me, I don't even know how to start. So hope this has been helpful. Go back and listen to Michelle Rapash's podcast episode 2 if you want to learn more about how another billing company does stuff. And if you want to start a third-party billing company, we're not trying to keep you from it. It is a hard industry because they're an entrepreneur, but there's so much work out there. There's so many doctors that need help. So one thing that I've really enjoyed about you and the other members of DRN is that when we all get on our calls, there's no ew, ew, why are they here? Ooh, why are they here? We're all actually helping each other and giving advice and stuff. And that's been really cool to see. So don't be afraid to start your own business. Just know that you gotta have errors and omissions, and you got to have liability insurance and a whole bunch of other stuff to do the right thing. Julia, how do they find you and the resources that you offer?
Yes. So if you go on my website, it's www.stellardentalsolutions.com, and there is a contact form you can fill out and I will get back to you, or you can schedule directly into my calendar and talk to me for 30 minutes. There's also a resource page on my website where you can go and download resources, cheat sheets, and all good things for your admin team.
And you keep it updated too, which is good.
I keep it updated, yes.
And are you going live in the Facebook group? Is that what you're doing?
I am not going live. I'm making some videos.
Okay. No, that's good. That's
Yes.
good, because the lives, they just decided that you had to pull those down. You have only 30 days. So if you do it, if anybody has any lives, you guys got to download them before they get rid of them. They're only up for 30 days now. I know our friend Rick Garofalo, he has months of lives he's downloading because of this. So he was not happy when I sent him that article.
I know. I have not heard of that.
Yeah,
actually, good to know
that. So, okay, so people, go check out Julia. She's a very generous soul. She's always willing to help and talk to people. So definitely check out her services. Check out the Facebook page, Dental Management Resources. Tell me again. I want to make sure.
Dental Practice Management Resources.
Oh, I almost had it. Okay. All right. So check that out. Connect with her. Check out Dental Revenue Network if you're one of the billers that are looking to get out there, and or if you're just a biller, not just a biller, but just a biller, not own a billing company, because that is a lot of work, Julia. So thank you so much for coming on and talking about your experience. And dear listeners, as always, I so appreciate that you spend your time with me.
We're all super busy, so thank you for making time for me today. The show notes will have any links that we referenced in the episode. You can also find links for my book, events, and my online insurance course, Dental Insurance Design and Management. I speak often around the country on management and insurance issues. Come hang out with me in one of my classes. I promise you'll laugh and learn.